award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We got a fun show for you today. Welcome back, Mr. Jason Holland.
Thank you for having me back. Didn't know if I was going to work or not. I mean, the first couple ones were, woo. Thanks for putting up with me.
Yeah, those were fun shows. We've talked about quite a bit of stuff, but we're going to jump into a lot more today. Rigging.
Yes.
This show. We're going to Tokyo. We're going to Nico. We're going to all kinds of places.
Carolina, Texas.
Yeah, we're traveling the entire world on this show in the next 30 minutes.
Yeah. So hang tight, hang on. It's going to be a fast show. We're trying to cover a lot, but Don King helping me co-host.
Yeah, and welcome back, Jason.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you allowing me to come back.
Yeah.
You bet.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we're always going to have a good time. And
Yeah.
there's always a million things to cover in fishing.
So what have you been up to? You were at a sports show recently, right?
Yeah. So the Fishing Expo that they put on every year over at Wilson County. The Municipal Center. I think it's the Farm Bureau Center now.
Yeah, that place is growing over there.
Yeah, that place is awesome. I mean, so we were over there and set up with some vendors over there and help them sell some fishing rods and sell some baits. And it's always a great time. They do it every year. Of course, this year was a little bit different. COVID has affected that as well. So just the overall crowds and the number of vendors were down, but it's really cool. They took some really good precautions. Of course, everybody had to wear a mask.
Sure.
They took everybody's temperature coming in. So everybody felt, relatively safe. You did our social distancing as much as you possibly can. But had a great time. Met a lot of cool people. Saw some new baits, some new stuff that are coming out.
Yeah.
Saw some old friends. And so that is always a great event. So if you are listening, make sure next year you'll be looking for that event come out because you always find something. It's fishing.
Yeah.
Fishermen are always buying something. It's always the new bait. It's the shiny new toy, the new mouse trap. Yeah. That's just what we do.
Sure.
But it was a lot of fun. I actually, I brought something with me that I found that was
you
pretty
met
cool.
a new guy.
I met a new guy. His name is John Nelson. I want to say John Harris, but I knew that was wrong. John Nelson. He's out of Lebanon. He is a math teacher doing everything virtual, and just kind of talking to him and got his story from Wisconsin, moved here many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And has always been just kind of messing around with baits and decided, hey, I'm going to go get these produced and see what happens. And, man, I saw them, and I absolutely love them. So it's torrentoutdoors.com is his website. But this is the one that I really thought, hey, for this show, we'll kind of talk about.
Shoot ya.
You can see that. It's a little 4-inch.
Oh, yeah.
It's got the rings on the back. It's got a thicker body up here so you can get a hook to stay in there real well. It's kind of got this tail that, as you're not moving it, it's still getting still move it from the water.
Right.
And it's more finessey presentation, but again, it's for Ned rigs. Fantastic if you're doing and we're going to talk about it here today, doing a Carolina rig, doing the split shot rig, which is kind of a more finessey Carolina rig. Hey, I just want to bring them up. Local guys. So
check
you
them
can see
out.
that. Check them out. Torrent Outdoors. John Nelson is his name. So, hey, I thought I'd bring a little something cool, local.
Yeah.
That we'd talk about.
That's neat. And as far as instruction goes, you guys have done some video things recently too.
Yeah.
In depth. I mean, camera right up there next to the fingers as you're assembling and making these baits happen. So
yeah, I think it's going to be, if you're listening, make sure you go check those out because we did get in depth and kind of walk through some of the specifics of, hey, here's how you do it. And we'll talk a little bit about that on the show today. But again, in the format that we're at, we can't really get too far in the weeds. But
Sure.
On those videos, give you some tips and tricks.
you can really get some good detail. I learned a lot watching those.
Good. I'm just surprised somebody learned something from me. So I'll take what I can get. If I can teach Mr. Don something, then I have succeeded in life.
Yeah, you're doing well. No, I mean we talked about umbrella rigs. We've poured our own jig heads. We've talked about how to organize your boat. There's more coming, but yeah, go back and watch those. It's all kinds of fun stuff. Good
Absolutely.
stuff.
Speaking of umbrella rigs, can we dive into those a little bit?
Let's
We'll
go.
talk about them. Rigging wise, so everybody's familiar with the umbrella rig, sometimes called the Alabama rig, sometimes called the spreader rig. There's a lot of different names for it, but at the end of the day, it's 5 wires and got in Tennessee 3 hooks.
Right. Yep.
Make sure you go out and know your state regulations if you're fishing outside of Tennessee. Other places you can have 5 hooks, but in the state you're allowed to have three hooks and 3 hooks only.
Yeah.
So in this specific umbrella rig. We actually have these little things we call them hitchhikers, but they're basically just a little screw lock, so you can screw a dummy bait. Again, no hook.
Screw a torrent on there if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. It's torrent. You can swim bait, grubs. I mean, anything that's going to give that bait fish action as you slow roll it through the water column. That's really what you want. I recommend you experience with it. Experiment. Did I say the word right?
Experience.
Experiment. There you go. Go out and try something different. Everybody's going to be doing kind of the same thing, putting little small swim baits like the missile bait Shockwave on there, which works great. Don't get me wrong. But, try something.
Sure.
Try something else. See if it works a little bit better, give them something they haven't looked at. So, again.
That rig emulates a small school of fish, right?
You got it.
Yeah.
So this time of year, the bait fish are still small. And this is really the time they want something slow. And we kind of talked about in the other show, but everything is slowed down. The water's super cold, especially right now. I mean, everything is just slow and really lethargic. So a swim bait is a great time this is a great time of year to use a swim bait. And in this case, the shad are all schooled up and they're small. An umbrella rig is a fantastic way to mimic that. Yeah. And this one here specifically has little spinners. There's a bunch of different variations out there. This one actually is from Fish Terror Baits here locally. So, and if you can see it on here, they came white, and so I had my daughter go with some little Sharpies, and she colored it. So
good.
Yeah, Emma did a great job with it.
She did a really good job.
Yeah. So again, umbrella rigs are a great time. Hook your swim baits, grubs, anything that you want to. Big key this time of year is extremely slow. Go as slow as you possibly can, and it's not a time to be burning it, going real fast.
Yeah.
Everything's slow. Great place. Go find bluffs. More importantly, bluff ends. Whatever the bluff is transitioning down into, chunk rock, pea gravel, whatever the case may be. Throw it out. You're not fishing this thing on the bottom. You're going to fish this anywhere between 8 to 12 feet. Throw it out. Count it down for a few seconds, and then slowly as you possibly can, reel it in.
So back to one of the last shows, what type of reel would you need for that slow roll? What's your ratio?
For me, I'm going to do a 5-3 to 1.
Okay.
And personally, I don't use braided line. A lot of people use braided line when they're throwing umbrella rigs just because it's super strong. I don't like it. My opinion, the fish hear that vibration of that braided line going through the guides. Yeah. It's just me. Some guys throw it, catch a bunch of fish. Good for them.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going to put on typically 20-pound fluorocarbon line because it sinks super clear, and just at 5-3 to 1. And when you think you're going as slow as you can, you're still going too fast.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's painful. I get it. But the great thing is when you do get bit on this thing, they think it's a live fish, and they absolutely annihilate it. So check that out. Cool. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
All right. Next thing we'll talk about is your standard Texas rig.
Going to Texas.
All right. We told you we're traveling the world today, and we're going to do Texas right now. So I have officially hung all that up. Here we go. So you can see that it is just a bullet sinker. And this, in this specific case, is a straight shank flipping hook. You can use a wide gap hook, which is what most people are familiar with. Again, you can get these at any of the sporting goods stores, your major chains. I got to think about this in the last show that we did. I mentioned Bass Pro. I mentioned Academy Sports and a lot of those. And great, you can go all that places and get stuff. But what I forgot to mention was shop local. Go to your local tackle store.
I know you like to do that as much as possible.
I do.
Whenever possible.
It's very important to me, and I think a lot of fishermen. Yes, the big box stores are great. Got a lot of options, and there's nothing wrong with those. I'm not bad-mouthing them by any means, but especially what we've been through and still going through, shop local. I mean, these guys are those local stores are the one that's sponsoring your kids' soccer team. They're the ones that's putting on these charity tournaments. Yep. And so go shop local, wherever local is to you. Here in Middle Tennessee, there's several locations. But if you can, shop local. Again, not bad-mouthing the big buys, but shop local when you can. All right, so we're going to talk about this real quick. Pretty simple. It's a bullet weight. I use tungsten opposed to lead. Tungsten's a lot more expensive than lead. If you're just getting into fishing, go to the place and just buy a pack of typically a quarter ounce to 3/8 ounce. That's going to be your two sizes. One's a little lighter, one's a little bit heavier. Get lead, super cheap. You can get a bunch of them. Start there. I use tungsten. The only reason I use tungsten is it's smaller because it's a more dense material, and it just transmits whatever it's touching a little bit better because it's not soft like lead.
Okay.
But lead worked for
many years.
Many years before tungsten showed up, so it works fine. But basically, you just take that slip sinker, slide it on the line, turn around, and tie your hook on there. For me, personally, there's 2 knots that I tie 99% of the time. That's going to be the Palomar, and we won't really go into that, but you can go on YouTube and Google how to tie a Palomar knot. Super simple, extremely strong, works on all different types, mono, fluorocarbon, braided line, copolymers. It just works.
We've got some of those videos on our YouTube page.
Hey.
Mike Parsley showing us how to do those.
There
knots.
you go. Shameless plug.
Yeah.
So don't go to YouTube. If you go to YouTube, go check us out on YouTube, not anywhere else.
Exactly.
And then the other one, I believe it's called an improved clinch. I'm not really sure. I call it the granddad knot. Only reason I call it the granddad knot is because that's the knot that my granddad showed me how to tie, and I have tied it my whole life, and it works great.
Yeah.
But again, go check out YouTube, learn how to tie knots. Look for the improved clinch, or maybe there's one called the granddad knot. If there's a video called the granddad knot, it's gonna be the greatest YouTube video of all time.
If there's not, we're doing it.
If not, we're gonna do it right here.
We might have to do that.
I think we should. I think we should do a show on doing nothing but stuff our grandfathers or dad taught us, right or wrong. I think it'd be fun anyway.
Get you some overalls.
Yeah, well, listen, I got a pair.
Okay.
I clean up for this show, by the way. Normally I'd be in like either a hoodie or a pair of Carhartts.
I saw you shaved a little bit.
I did. I trimmed up the beard. I didn't want to. I'm not going to lie. My wife said either you trim the beard or you're not leaving the house. So
Okay.
she's the boss. So yes, ma'am, I shaved my beard. Trimmed my beard. She keeps asking when I'm going to go clean shaving. I'm like, have you seen me? I mean, look how great I look with this thing. I'm never going back. Anyway, we digress. All right, so simple Texas rig. And you can turn around and fish any of your soft plastics, worms, crawls.
So why does that weight slide?
Oh,
Why do you want that to
great
slide
point.
like that?
So the reason why you want this, you want that separation. So, and what that does is once the weight separates from the bait, it gives that bait the opportunity to just to move, move freely. So it's not tight. And ultimately, you're trying to be as natural as you possibly can. And that separation, as you're moving along, it gives that opportunity for that bait to be free. The other good thing is when you do catch a fish, set the hook, that fish comes up jumping, this weight is going to separate from the hook. And what that does is it gives it doesn't allow the fish to have the weight to help pivot that hook out of their mouth. So it gets the weight away. And the only thing that fish has in his mouth is just a hook. And so there's nothing that's, given that opportunity to create the ability to knock it loose. So,
right. Okay, cool.
The other thing that you want to talk about real quick is, and we got time, right here. If you can see them or not, I'll put them against the shirt. Those are just plain old bobber stoppers.
Okay.
Get them anywhere you want. They're called bobber stoppers, or sometimes they're called pegs. And you stick your line through the little loop at the top, and then you just thread that little bead on.
Ah.
So what that does is, in the situation where you don't want the separation, you think, well, why would I not want the separation? So think if you're flipping in bushes or flooded trees, you want that weight and that hook and bait to stay compact. If not, what happens is that weight will separate, get hung up on a limb, and then you're stuck.
Yeah.
So if you put that all together, it's a much more compact bait. If you're on, say, nickajack in the summertime or fall, a lot of thick grass, you want to peg that weight and keep all that compact, and allows you to come in and out of the grass much easier, and it keeps everything real tight.
So why wouldn't you want to just use a jig head?
Well, you can, but the main thing with this is it's weedless. That's the big thing. Now, jigs have a weed guard on them, and they work good. But when you get into the real thick grass or you're into really heavy timber, you have to work it, and you got to pay a lot more attention. And I don't mean pay attention to the fact of, hey, I'm just willy-nilly fishing, is the fact that you have to feel every single branch come over, feel it getting hung up. You got to kind of pop it loose. So you have to mentally work a lot harder.
Right.
And that's okay. I mean, there's sometimes I'll flip a jig, but if I want something tight, compact, and most importantly, I want it weedless, I'm going to Texas rig it.
And put a stopper on there if you need.
If you need to keep the weight on there, put one. You can put two. It doesn't matter. If I'm punching thick grass with, say, 2-ounce tungsten weight, which is a massive amount of weight for bass fishing, I'll put 2 pegs, sometimes 3 pegs. And there's other options out there. My granddad taught me just shove a toothpick behind there and you snap it off.
There you go.
It's a great peg. It works great. Now, eventually it'll fray your line, and I don't recommend it. Technology has helped us. We don't have
Grandpa will do
Yeah,
that.
but Grandpa Brent, my God, we're going to put a toothpick in it, snap it off. That'll peg it as well. So there's a lot of options with that. Another thing that you can do is this is a silicone rubber skirt. So you can put your weight on and then slide your skirt on and then put your piece of soft plastic. So next thing you know, you kind of got a jig profile.
Yeah.
And it's still fully weedless. So
Cool. All right.
That's some options. Now we'll talk real quick about some of the baits that I like to use in Texas Rig. This is a missile-based D-bomb, and it is a creature-style bait. Of course, got a couple appendages and then the legs that kick. They also make a, find it here for you, it's called a baby D-bomb. Same thing, it's just a smaller version. Now, where that's important, take a highly pressured lake. For instance, Old Hickory. Love Old Hickory. If you go on a weekend,
A lot of people.
there's just a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And so fish get conditioned. They've seen a million worms, a million creature baits. And so you got to figure out, all right, how do I get their attention when they've seen 20 other guys before me on this bank?
Sure.
And really how you do that is you go smaller. And we talked about in the other show, lighter line, go to a more compact, smaller bait. It just gets you more bites. So I really like those, the D-bombs from Missile. And then also they make, it's called the Quiver, 6.5 Quiver. It's a worm. And we'll actually talk about the smaller version on the Ned Rig. But Missile baits, love them.
All right.
Super soft. All right.
So similar to the Texas, you have a Carolina, right?
Carolina Rig. Man, we got to keep going.
You got to
We
keep
got a
going.
bunch
We're
of
going to
stuff
run
going.
out of time.
All right. Carolina Rig. Carolina Rig, you start with, personally, I start with an egg sinker. Now, I don't use tungsten. I use tungsten for everything else except when I go Carolina rigging. Reason for it is again, tungsten is extremely hard. And so, again, typically if you're throwing a Carolina rig, it's going to be a harder bottom, rocks or whatever. If you use lead, the softness of lead actually works in your advantage. So if you get into a situation, you get wedged between two rocks, tungsten, I mean, you're there. You're going to have to go up and get it. Right. Where if you use lead, because it's more malleable and it's softer, you can pull on it, the lead will give, and it'll pop it loose.
Okay.
Great little tip for you. And the great thing is they're super cheap.
Yeah.
And you're gonna lose weights Carolina rigging. So I usually never go smaller than a 3/4 ounce unless I'm super shallow, maybe a half. But you want this weight going across the bottom. You want it stirring up muck. You want it making a commotion. And what happens is the fish will come to see what's going on. They're inquisitive, and they'll actually just see the weight. And then all of a sudden, come floating behind there, completely weightless, supernatural is your bait. And Carolina rigs will catch them when nothing else will. Right now, when it's colder, it's a great time, especially on a Dale Hollow or Center Hill with the smallmouth are. My recommendation is throw a 3/4 ounce to 1 ounce weight, get you a long leader. When I say a long leader, everybody's version of long is different. In mine, that's anywhere between 4 to 6 foot long.
Oh, really?
Most people are like 18 inches to 24 inches. No, you want to get that distance as far as you can. You got their attention. They come to investigate, and you want that bait just to come slowly creeping along. When it's cold, go to a worm style, some type of worm with no action. My personal, what I use a lot is Missile baits. The Ned. This is the Ned bomb. It's actually a Ned rig bait, but it's fantastic for that. Very little action. It's small, compact. So, all right. So let's talk about it. You tie your egg sinker on. All right, pretty straightforward. Then, next thing you want to do is put something, because you're going to put a swivel on this.
Right.
So you want something that is going to come between your weight and your swivel. And it's not to keep the weight and the swivel from touching, it's to keep that weight from banging against the knot that you tie on the swivel. So you want to protect that knot as much as you can, because remember, you're dragging that weight and that swivel through all kinds of nastiness.
Yeah.
So beads.
Little bead. Always red?
Again, we talked about it. I'm a red fan.
Yeah.
Again, I want something they can key on.
Sure.
You can use red, black. A lot of guys will use clear. That's got a little bit of flash to it. One tip I will give you, don't use glass beads.
Okay.
A lot of people say, hey, I want glass because you got the weight in that bead and it's got this little knock to it, which is true. But the problem is that glass will chip. And what happens all of a sudden now, you've got a sharp edge around your line. So I go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's or whatever and pick up these beads. for about $5, you'll pick up all the beads you need until the day you die.
You're bedazzling your reel. And
well, yeah, why not? I mean, I want it to look good. I mean, I don't want to be fashionable on the outside. I want to be fashionable under the water. Yeah. So we bedazzle it. That's a great idea. We should come up with a bait, the bedazzler for Carolina rigs.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for that. All right. You got weight, bead, swivel. Mm-hmm. Take your leader, whatever you want it to do, and then just tie your hook on, use a Palomar knot, put whatever bait you want to put on there.
Similar hook that what you use for Texas?
You'll use a wide gap or an offset hook. Let me show you real quick. We got time. Well, no, I won't because I don't have them up here. But
that's all right.
Just a wide gap hook. You'll see it when you go to that's 99% of what everybody throws is a wide gap. It's just you'll see it. It's the shank comes down, then makes a hard 90 degrees, and it's got a little piece where the bait sits. Yeah. You've seen those.
Yeah.
That's how you use it. You can use a straight shank. Straight shanks are typically designed for flipping. When you're pitching or flipping in something more compact, tight environment. An offset will work too, but on that, I go with an extra wide gap offset hook. If you're throwing a worm, there is a worm hook, same bend in it. It just doesn't have the big gap. That's a whole nother conversation, but we'll talk about that at another time. All right. We're going to talk real quick. Now we're going to Tokyo.
That's what I was wondering. Where are we going next?
We're going to Tokyo. So this is what's called a Tokyo rig. VMC makes it. It's just another version, another mousetrap to the Texas rig.
Okay.
So what you've got here is, and again, you can go to YouTube and check them out, but you've got a rig with a hook. This is actually the flipping version. They have a wide gap hook. It's for what you're trying to do. This just happens to be the flipping version. But it's got a swivel right here.
Okay.
And then it's got this crazy looking bar at the end.
Yep.
So what the whole concept is to give them a different presentation, a different look. They've seen Texas rigs for 50 years. So in this scenario, all that you do is you take your weight, and I'll use a bigger weight just to show up better. I'm not necessarily going to use a 1 ounce weight on a Tokyo rig, but all that you do is you stick the long little piece of metal there, and then you bend it. And then what happens is that weight stays below. And so think about this as you're dragging it.
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of like almost like a really condensed version of a Carolina rig. And so it compacts, your weight's down here, and then as you drag that, as you hop that, as you flip that, you've got your bait up above the weight.
Wow. I would not have done that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I learned something today.
It's really cool. You can actually go check out some videos. They got some really good information about them. But it's come around, I guess, 18 months ago or so. And it's everywhere.
So what's the size weight you would use? Not what you got, but what?
Really, it depends on what you're doing.
Okay.
If you're shallow, personally, I wouldn't go much less than probably 5/16, because again, you want that pulling it down. I mean, you want enough weight that it's as you drag that. Again, it's doing the same thing, kind of like Carolina rig. And the other good thing is that thing's again free flowing.
Yep.
And
that
so
swivel,
as they bite it, again, the weight separates. You got a swivel. And so they can't get any leverage to throw the hook. So check out the Tokyo rig. Really cool. On that, same type of thing. I use the missile D-bombs.
Okay.
Or the quiver. And those are absolutely fantastic. Or another one you can use, Torn Outdoors.
There you go.
This is the 4-inch version. They make a 6.5 as well, which is probably going to be a little bit more fitting, that longer bait for that style on the Tokyo rig. We're moving. We're going to talk about Neko.
Neko.
All right, so Neko it's been around a couple years, but basically, if you're familiar with the wacky rig, all a wacky rig is you take a stick worm and you hook it right in the middle, and it just dangles.
Yeah, both sides just kind of hanging out.
You got it. Same concept, but you actually, instead of being weightless, you actually take a Neko weight, and you stick in the head of that bait. And so what happens is you've got this kind of wacky movement, but now you have one side that's weighted, and so when it falls, it actually falls head down.
Okay.
And so you got the head down, and you got this tail that's just
wacky.
Wacky.
Yeah,
it is
tail.
free flowing, wacky.
So you still hook it through the middle.
Still hook it through the middle. Here's a
Put the
version of a Neko hook. I personally, more times than not, I find myself using the weedless version.
Okay.
Ideally, you want to throw it without the weed guard on it. It just allows you to get better hookups, better hook penetration, and you don't have anything in the way. Again, I fish areas that it's kind of tough to do that. especially let's say an old hickory or Kentucky lake or anything that's got more structure in the water.
Right.
I feel I probably could get away with it. I just feel more comfortable with a weedless version, but you don't have to have that. Okay. But you wacky rig it, and then now here's the key. So instead of on a wacky rig, instead of hooking, let me pull this out of here real quick. Instead of hooking it through the middle, and you get this kind of action like this, and you got your hook that runs like this.
Right.
If you can see that. You like that hand motion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There you go.
It's professional right there. That's the professional move. Yeah. All you do is you actually hook it, and the hook is going along the length of the body.
Parallel to the body.
You got it.
Yeah.
There's a better word. Parallel to the body.
Yeah, there you go.
And so, again, this is going to fall down like this, and your hook's going to be here, and this tail is just going to move. And what's really great is especially if, what do I do with them? Here. Missile makes one, and theirs actually has part of that weight sticking out of the bait. So think about this. Normally, you could take like a finishing nail and just stick a finishing nail to give that weight, and it's flat.
Oh, yeah.
But say you're fishing Percy Priest, or you're fishing Dale Hollow or Center Hill or any of those where you've got rock, now you've got the weight actually exposed. And so that as that hops along the rocks, you get a little thump action, right? Again, we all know that's why we put rattles and jigs.
Sure.
Draw some attention.
You got it. The sound attractor. So, I use missile bait ones. VMC makes some. A lot of people make them with the weight exposed at the head. I like that. Maybe it's just me, but why not? If I can add sound to it and add an extra layer of attractant, why not? Mm-hmm. So that's the Neko. Again, there's a lot of different ways that you can rig that, different things that you can use. So do a little research, but the Neko is fantastic.
Well, that's neato.
Look at you.
All right, what's next? We got a few more minutes.
We got a few more minutes. All right, so we're going to talk about a couple of ways that you can basically add a little bit more flash than you normally would get, let's just say, to your Texas rig. So we talked about on the Texas rig. Did we talk about putting a bead on your Texas rig?
Don't remember.
I don't think that we did. Uh-oh.
We're out of time.
All right, guys. Your red bead that you put on your Carolina rig, put the red bead on your Texas rig.
Okay.
Another option. The other option you can do is on your soft plastics on your Texas rig, go get little plastic rattles. Shove that in the soft plastic. Again, now we're adding sound to the whole deal. We talked a little bit about adding the skirt, so that gives you that option. We talked about
the stopper.
Stopper, another great option. Highly recommend. Just go experiment. God, I can't say experiment. Go experiment. Take what you know, add something to it. Who knows? Maybe you find that one key thing that works for that day. Don't be locked in. Let your mind flow. It don't matter. Just put different colors on.
Yeah.
Hey, take fingernail polish.
There you go.
Get a red fingernail polish.
I got a lot of that laying around.
Well, I mean, if you got daughters or wives, maybe you do. I mean, maybe Jason does on his own. I don't know. I'm not asking. But take fingernail polish, and you can put different colors on your baits. Don't get locked into just doing it one way. Go experiment and have fun fishing.
Cool. That's a lot of information packed full here. This show has been awesome. We'll have to elaborate more on some of this in the next show. We'll have you back, I promise.
All right. Well, I mean,
it's
we're
working
three
out.
for three,
I think
so
it's working out.
We're getting there. Hey, make sure you check out Jason Holland Fishing on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all the social media stuff.
Awesome.
It's my ugly face, but I mean, you get by with it.
And Torrent Baits out of Lebanon, right?
Yes, out of Lebanon.
And,
check them out.
check
They're on
them out.
Facebook, and they also have a website that they just got up and going. So,
All right.
And don't forget missile baits, my favorite.
All right.
Buy local.
Buy local.
Well, that's going to do it. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Don.
You bet.
Thank you guys for watching and tuning in and listening. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.